Hey folks, it's Lauren from Snowy's here with the OZtrail Deluxe Gazebo 3.0. I'm going to show you how to set it up and pack it away.
Hit it.
Quicker to set up with a couple of sets of hands, but easy enough for one person. It's got an all-in-one pull-out frame and a fast lock adjustment for multiple height settings. Hold up fam, before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our awesome content. Let's get started. So we're lucky enough to be out of the office and down at West Beach for filming today. The gazebo itself, when packed, is 157 centimeters long by about 22 centimeters wide by 27 centimeters. So not quite a perfect square on the end here. And it weighs about 24 kilos. So it's heavy, but I can obviously lift this myself. So it comes in a heavy duty storage bag, and we've got a couple of handles here, one at the bottom and one at the top. Now those handles are a pretty heavy duty webbing, and they're reinforced stitching there, and they've got this soft rubber handle to make it easy for carrying. Now, whilst I'm talking about the carrying straps, we've got corresponding on the back of the bag here, a couple of wheels, which allow you, when you've only got one person, to just tilt the gazebo and drag it with this top handle here, and the base will just roll along the bottom there. So on this side of the gazebo, we have a smaller pocket that's going to keep all your gazebo pins. On the back of the gazebo here, or the bag here, we've got this giant pocket, and this keeps your canopy and guy ropes and everything all stored. And we've also got a couple of webbing straps with a quick release buckle, both at the top and the bottom. That's just to help take up any extra slack in the bag if you've got it there after you've packed up. And around the base, we have this extra strip of reinforced fabric, and that's just to stop the frame from wearing through the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll undo these buckles and lay this one down, and we'll unpack the bag. Pull the frame out like so. I'll just pop the bag aside for now. Now, when you pull the frame out of the bag, you're going to have one end that's got these plastic knuckles on the corner, and you're going to have the other end here that's got these sort of half moon shaped feet. So this is the end that we want to have on the ground. Now, I'm also using our ex-demo model here as well. So if you see a little bit of mud on the feet of the gazebo, it's just because we have used this one before. Now from this point, it's a good idea before you get started with the frame to have your canopy laid out, ready to go. But because we're at the beach today and it's really windy, I don't want it off down into the horizon while I'm trying to set the frame up. So I've just left it packed up in the storage bag for now. So what we're going to do is expand the frame. It's better done with an extra set of hands, but it's still obviously achievable with one person, as I'm going to show you today. So each of the four legs are indicated by these Velcro straps. So what I'm going to do is just grab both of these legs and start sort of pulling them out to expand the frame. And as I do this, I'm sort of going to give it a bit of a bounce, because they'll get to a point where as much as you pull the frame's just going to get dragged along. It's not going to keep expanding. So when you get to that point, best thing I found is to get your hand on the bottom of one of these scissor struts and push up as you are pulling the frame out, because what that actually does is keep the tension on the square. And as you can see, it pulls out the frame a lot easier. Once we get to this point, we're now going to get our canopy, because if we extend the frame any further, it's going to just be really high and be a bit of a pain in the butt to get the canopy on. So we'll pull it out of the storage pocket like so. So our four corners, look for the OZtrail logo on your canopy. That's a good place to start. So that's going to be one of our first corners. So hopefully the wind's going to help me in getting this over the top of the frame. So I'm going to line up, as I mentioned before, my logo with one corner of the gazebo. Now what you'll also see on the underside of the canopy are these two Velcro tabs that obviously are going to correspond with your legs. So pop that on and give those Velcro tabs a bit of a rub down to make sure that they are getting a good stick onto the frame. So obviously, because the frame isn't fully extended, the canopy doesn't have quite good tension yet. So as we're expanding the frame further, we just need to be mindful of that canopy catching on any components of the frame, and also little hooks and bits like that. So let's extend this frame out further. Again, holding the bottom of that scissor strut to keep the square tension So at this point with one person, it's where it gets a bit tricky because your gazebo frame's going to need to be under a fair bit of tension, and to lock into place you need to pull this grey hub up and over this little locking pin here. So on the very first leg that you're doing as one person, that's going to take a fair bit of muscle because you're actually physically pushing out the tension of the whole frame yourself. So we're almost there. There we go. Like so. So that's clicked into place now. We've heard that nice little click, and we'll go around and do that on all 4 of our corners. Now, once that first corner's done as well, all the other corners are a lot easier. So we're on to the last corner. Now, I haven't actually mentioned this yet on any of the other legs, but as you can see underneath this little hub here, we've got this little yellow tab. So basically, obviously you'll hear a click sound when you move the hub up over that locking pin, but secondary to that, you'll also see this little yellow button push out, and that's how you know that it's properly locked in place. And from here, we're going to go underneath the canopy. And we'll see in the central point of each 4 sides, we've got our little hook and adjustment webbing strap. So we're just going to hook the base of that underneath the frame there. So whether or not you hook it onto this frame or potentially even this frame here, it's not that big a deal. And then you can just pull on this webbing strap here, to tension your canopy. That comes in handy over time as well. If your canopy sort of stretches out and sags a little bit with age, those tensioning straps are really great. So one thing I haven't mentioned as well about these webbing straps is, as you can see, they're reinforced there by that extra bit of sort of PVC plastic. So that not only does that sort of, I guess, reinforce the stitching and the webbing for any tension that's going to be on these straps to protect the canopy, but also as I'm tightening these, you can see it very much sits over this hub on the frame here, and any sort of wear or tear of that frame rubbing on that hub is going to be protected by this reinforced patch. So from here, once you've done all of your internal hooks and you know your corners are velcroed onto the frame, the next step, as you can see through the base of the foot there, you've got a couple of holes. The next step would be pegging your gazebos down. Because we're at the beach, the sand pegs that we have on hand aren't actually going to fit through those holes. So there's a couple of different options that you can choose. Either your sandbag kit, which we've got packed up there. You've also got the option of a base pod kit, which you can fill up with water, which is nice and heavy, that goes around all 4 legs. But the other really important thing that you absolutely do need to do is to set your guy ropes up. So we've got these sand pegs here that don't come with the gazebo, but we've grabbed them from the shop. But you will get all the guy ropes that you need with your gazebo for setup. But before I do those guy ropes, I am going to extend the legs up. So similarly to the hub for the scissor lift frame that we had up the top here, we've got the same on the legs. So I'm just going to pull that one up until it reaches its first locking point. Again, with the little yellow tab, like it does at the top of the scissor lift strut, that yellow tab is going to be tucked in, but will pop out when we know the locking pin's in place. So I'm just clicking this last leg into place. Now, the gazebo actually does have 3 height adjustments. So where we are now, it's on the 193 centimeter tall height, which is the lowest. Because I'm a bit of a shorty and I want to attach the guy ropes and peg them in, I'm going to leave it here. But it also goes to 208 centimeters tall or 223 centimeters tall. So a couple of different height adjustments there. Now, as you can see, it's getting pretty windy and the gazebo is getting a bit bustled around. So I'm going to get onto those guy ropes ASAP. So on each of the 4 corners, we've got this little triangle strap with a little sort of gray webbing loop. That's where our guy rope's going to go. So that webbing loop runs all the way through up the top of this triangle and into the canopy frame itself, so it's well stitched and reinforced. Your guy rope has a little adjustable aluminium toggle on it with a loop on one end. That's going to be the end that we keep on our for our pegs. So this raw end here is the end I'm going to pop through the loop like so, and just tie into place. Right, so from here I'm going to get one of my pegs, sand pegs. Now obviously sand pegs here because we're at the beach today, but wherever it is that you are camping or picnicking, just make sure you've got a peg that's suitable for the ground you're intending to be in. And we're going to go around and do that on all 4 corners. So I'm just going to push that one in. Fortunately, it's nice and soft here today, so just my hand is enough. So that's how you set up the original OZtrail Gazebo 3.0. So because the wind has started picking up a little bit here. I'm going to pack down in a slightly different order to what I did with packing up. So first things first, I'm just going to drop all the legs down as low as they'll go, and hopefully that will reduce any of that excess wind pressure. So I'm just going to be pressing into those yellow tabs and releasing that locking pin down. Now, as the gazebos drop down, we've got a little bit of give in our guy ropes, which should make it easy to pull all the pegs out. Now, the next thing we need to do is, before we can remove the canopy, we need to release the tension on the scissor struts around the frame. So I'm going to, what I like to do is put the heel of my hand underneath the scissor strut to support it, because there's a lot of tension in the frame, and as soon as we press this button, it tends to want to sort of shoot down with the force. So to protect your hands or fingers that you've got underneath here, we're just going to hold up the scissor strut while we press in the locking pin and then slowly let that release down. We're going to do that in all four corners. Right, so I've released those four corners. I'm going to really quickly pop in underneath the canopy now and release all of these hooks that I've had holding the canopy in place, because they're holding that over the tension of the frame. Won't collapse until we've done that. So now we've released those hooks, the gazebo is going to naturally want to fold in on itself, and you can help it along like so. Now, whilst we're here, before our canopy flies off down the beach, I'm going to pull it off and stash it away. Definitely can be done in a much sort of neater and more ordered fashion than that, but I've been battling with the wind a little bit here, so I've sort of just had to make do. Now that's folded up as sort of in a bit of an elongated sausage, which is what you're aiming for. In the side pocket of the bag here, you can see that rough sort of shape that you're going for, that will allow that to slip back into that side pocket easily. So so. All right, done. So back to the frame. From here, we're just going to do pretty much the opposite of what we did when we're setting up, by sort of walking the frame back in so it can collapse upon itself. Like so. So I'm just going to carry this over to the storage bag and pop that down on its side, undo the zips, get the bottom of the gazebo, just position it into the bottom of the bag, making sure you've got all four of those feet nicely tucked into the base. Then the cover should be able to zip, pull across the top and zip shut nicely with a bit of extra room. Right, so I'm going to flip it over. Now, as you saw before when I put the canopy away, there's a fair amount of room left in this storage pocket. So if you are upgrading your pegs to something like your sand pegs, there's going to be loads of room for you to tuck them inside there as well. You don't need to worry about carrying them separately. So last but not least, we've got our extra little webbing straps and buckles that will just do up as an added precaution. So that's about it for the original OZtrail Deluxe 3.0 gazebo. As you can see, very manageable to do by one person, even in some trying conditions. It's a great option to give you loads of shade and undercover space when you are camping or picnicking or on any daily adventures. You can get this at snowies.com.au at our lowest prices every day.